Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, all, and welcome to this pre-match press conference with Australia's captain, Pat Cummins. I'll hand you over to Cole, who will conduct the press conference.
Yes, guys, as we say, Pat Cummins, Australian captain here, chat to you today ahead of tomorrow's semi-final. Two microphones here, put your hand up if you'd like to ask a question, and make sure I know where the mic is. Sometimes I'm not sure where it is, so we'll pass it around, guys. Maybe keep one on the left and one on the right. So we'll start with you, sir. Or, yeah, no, behind you.
Yeah. Good morning, Pat. Welcome to Eden Gardens. It is one of the luckiest ground you are playing here. Your Allen Border won here. So that team had consistency in the opening pairs. Jeff Marsh and that David Boone, they were more consistent. But in your this team, the consistency is lacking. Warner has played, I think, all the as an opener he played, but you have permuted and there is permutation combination in terms of opening pair. What would you say about this pair, opening pair, which is very important for 50-over match?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a great opening pair in Trav and Davey. Trav obviously missed the first half of the tournament due to injury, but in that New Zealand match, you saw the way they took the game away from him in basically the first 10 overs, and that's how we want to play. Mitch Marsh, I think, showed last time as well what he can do up the top of the order, albeit at number 3. So, yeah, really, really pumped with how the batting lineup's functioning at the moment.
Hi, I write for the Midday, Arup Chatterjee. Tell me, how important is South Africa beat you in the league stage, but they have a very poor record against you in the semi-finals. So how does all these things count? And it's a slow wicket, it's a different kind of wicket. So pace bowling side, how are you going to tackle all that?
Yeah, I don't think it counts for too much. It's obviously you start from scratch every time you play. They're a team we've played quite a lot and know quite well. But as you said, this wicket's probably going to be quite different to, say, the South African series that we just played against them a couple of months ago. So I think, what helps us is we've got a lot of guys that have been in this situation before, that have won One-Day World Cup, T20 World Cup, various other tournaments in big moments. So I think that really helps. You can draw on that in the middle of the contest. Yeah, in terms of the wicket, it does look like it's probably going to spin a bit more than some of the other wickets. Which again, it's the same for both teams. So it might just be a slightly different pace game, but I think it's still pretty evenly matched.
Pat, South Africa have had some great sides and never played in a World Cup final. So how do you think that that sort of legacy or history will weigh on them in a big game like this?
Yeah, hard to say. It's, again, we feel lucky that we've been in these situations quite a bit, a lot of our players. So it's, you know what it takes, but also you're not really weighed down by history. You get more excited about the challenge and, just get stuck into what needs to be done. So, yeah, hard to speak on their behalf, but yeah, I do know kind of each World Cup, it does seem to be the story that South Africa haven't quite achieved, obviously, what they'd set out to do.
Pat, 7 of the bounce, given the way you started the World Cup, does that put you, even though it's a fresh start, knockout, etc., does that give you the momentum against a team which played here and lost pretty badly?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think, we've come a long way since the start of the tournament. First 2 games are 2 tough teams to come up against. And with the bowling, I think we've just got better and better in all phases. So, feels like we're really well placed. We've obviously played a lot of cricket over the last month, and it just feels like everyone knows their role and it's starting to click.
Yeah, Pat. Just going back to the mental side of things, I just wondered if you could elaborate a little bit more. I mean, a lot of players in your side, T20, have been T20 World Cup champions. Some from that 2015 campaign as well. How does that affect the way that you approach a big game like this? Is there an ease? Have you talked about what you've done in the past and and what you need to do this time. Could you just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different ways you can go about it. You can either build it up as, the most important game of your life, or you can, business as usual, really. And I think when, with experience, I think just keeping it pretty chilled and business as usual for our group seems to be the way to go. So, you draw back on those past wins, but you also just draw back on the last few weeks and know that us at our best is good enough. So you don't need to try and push it too hard. But I think there's a quiet confidence, and I think our team plays our best when we've got that.
Extension of the previous question. I mean, the first ODI knockout World Cup match for you as a captain. Is there anything different for you? Do you feel differently?
No, again, we've played 9 matches in the last kind of 6 weeks, so lots of lessons along the way there. And I'll be drawing on that. So there's been some games that were pretty chilled. There's been some that have kind of been pretty tight at the end, and I think that sets us up well for this one. And I do my normal planning, get my head around what tomorrow's going to look like on, say, that kind of wicket, which maybe might spin. But I don't think you see anything too different.
Raj, do you want passing that back to Louis on the left?
Pat, how much have you guys been looking at the forecast and suggestions of a cyclone or whatever might be coming? And just in terms of that, like if there was some rain and you went into that reserve day, like it would give you a really tight turnaround between the semi and the final. I mean, it's already a tight turnaround, right? Like, have you thought about all those things?
Yeah, I had a bit of a look at the weather. It's always kind of hard to judge. It seems to change a little bit, and one website tells you something and another one tells you the opposite. So, I guess it's something you think about, but I mean, you can't forward plan too much with the weather. So, we'll turn up expecting to play 50 over match tomorrow, and if that shifts on us, well, I'm sure in real time we can kind of adjust as needed. But it feels like it hasn't really rained here for the last couple of months, so to see the weather for 2 days looking like that's not ideal. But in terms of short turnaround, it's fine. We play lots of ODIs where you're playing on Friday, flying to a different city, playing on the Sunday, so it's not too big of a deal.
Pat, just going back to the history between the two teams, like how many times have you seen that Australia-South Africa semi-final on television over here? It's on all the time. It's also funny that they don't show the 2007 one where Australia dominated South Africa and beat them badly. So I know you're not much of a cricket watcher, but do you have any memories from that? And like I said, how often have you had to see it in the last year?
The 99 World Cup one, it's kind of folklore, isn't it? So seen that replay heaps of times. You hear the stories. Mainly just that last ball and last over. I've seen that heaps of times. But I guess since I've been playing, I haven't really seen too much. Obviously, 2015 they had a great semi-final against New Zealand, went right down to the wire. Honest answer, I don't have too many memories.
Hi, Pat. Just on that, do many of your team members remember anything about 99? Some of the South Africans weren't even born then, and they say, this is not something that's in our memory bank. Is it in yours?
No, not really. None of our players were playing. You can't probably draw too many conclusions from that team, but it's part of Australian kind of cricket folklore and history, so you see the replays, but obviously none of us were playing in the game.
Yeah, hi Pat, Sandeep here. You have been a part of Kolkata Knight Riders, and Eden Gardens is very familiar to you. So is it going to give you any extra advantage while preparing strategy for this match? You know the conditions here very well.
I've been asked that by a few of the boys this week, and I feel like I've hardly played here. I think I've played one IPL game here, and then obviously the last few years we've been in Dubai or Mumbai or different places for IPL. So I'd love to claim that, but I've played here as much as a lot of the other guys, which is mainly Australian ODIs and the odd IPL game.
Hi, Pat. Just on a personal note, you were in that 2015 World Cup squad, but you weren't in the 11. So is there any extra motivation to, play in that 11, considering how many of your close mates were in that team?
Absolutely. I still say that 2015 World Cup was, my career highlight, and I wasn't playing, but it was just the most magic moment. MCG, packed house, whole of Australia behind us, winning a World Cup, which is rare. You only get a chance every 4 years. So, if I'm in the playing 11, we win. That might pip that 2015 World Cup.
Pat, have you settled on an 11 yet? And if so, if not, are you leaning one way towards the extra all-rounder or batter?
We'll announce that at the toss tomorrow. So we're pretty sure, but we'll let everyone know tomorrow.
And just, I'm not sure if you followed a report from the Daily Mail over the last 24 hours about the pitch in Mumbai. Do you have any concerns about the integrity of the pitches at this tournament and potential Indian control relative to the ICC?
I saw that. Obviously ICC have an independent pitch curator who manages that, so I'm sure they're all over making sure it's fair for both teams. I haven't, so far this tournament that we've played on, I haven't seen any issues.
Pat, just back to the playing 11. So Manas walking around with keeping gloves on. We don't need to read too much into that, right? Like, he won't be keeping wickets in the semi-final, for example.
He won't be keeping wickets. We've got two very accomplished wicket keepers here on tour. I did say to him after training yesterday, because I saw him bowl off spin, leg spin, short fielding catching, outfield catching, batting, hitting fielding hits, and then batting in the nets against spin pace. I was like, you forgot to do bowling, fast bowling today. What's happened? So he'll probably be down here later bowling, fast bowling.
Pat, can you talk us through about the two likely scenarios with selection? Like you just said before, the pitch might turn a bit, so it might be a bit harder work. Is that a case where you might lean towards the extra batter rather than the extra all-rounder? I mean, what are the two scenarios that you guys are working through to make that sort of decision on that final place?
Yeah, I think that's fair. With the all-rounders, someone like a Stoyan at number 7 is giving you valuable overs, and then also is a really aggressive finisher to the innings. So you're weighing that up against, maybe a middle order batter if you think the bowling might not come into it as much, and maybe the runs are to be had by, through the middle overs rather than blasting them out at the end. So they're things we've got to weigh up. I don't think there's a wrong or right answer. We've got a class squad of people here that feel like we can step in at any time. So, we'll work through that.
And Maxi, we just had the news that Maxi had a precautionary scan. Can you tell us what that was for and how he's pulled on?
Yeah, so Maxi's all clear. He's all good. Just precautionary. So still a little bit sore yesterday. We get scans a lot of the times just to make sure that if there is something there, we know what we're dealing with. And fortunately, came back all sweet, so he's fine.
Pat, this is an old conversation that's been revived by Waka in the cricket, saying that we shouldn't be using two balls through the innings. Now, Sanath Jayasuriya has kind of waded into it and saying pretty much the same thing with Waka as a premium fast bowler, as someone who's used to be seeing this ball not reversing much, although it has been here. What's your opinion on this?
Anything that favours the bowlers, I'm normally in agreement with. Again, it's the same for both teams. I think in some ways over here in India, the ball actually deteriorates okay. So sometimes at the end of the innings, the scoring isn't as free-flowing as, say, in Australia or some of these other countries. But there's no doubt, the ODI cricket nowadays is a million miles away from the ODI cricket from 20 years ago, where they used to use one ball and used to